Monday marks 20 years since the United States invaded Iraq. The conflict stretched out for 9 years and resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. Well, today, there are still U.S. troops on the ground. So we're joined now by retired Major John Spencer. He was deployed twice in Iraq in 2003 and 2008, and now he teaches urban warfare studies at West Point. It's really good to talk to you right now. 20 years out offers some historic perspective, I think, that maybe we can't see, 5 years out or 10 years out. So let's talk a little bit about this, Major. Take us back to what led to the Iraq War, where we were at the time mentally, and how we are reflecting on the decision 20 years out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the context is very important. And as you know, not long after 9/11, the global war on terrorism, a lot going on. But the number one reason that the Iraq war started was because Saddam Hussein would not follow UN sanctions on allowing weapons inspectors to inspect, somebody who had already proven to use chemical weapons to commit genocide against his own people and had aspirations of doing it later. So the quick answer of it was because of WMDs that we did not find, and I was a part of those missions looking for them. Is not the full picture of why that war started.
I think that is a great point, because that's kind of like the short version of it, that, they went in looking for WMDs. There were no WMDs, and therefore it was sort of a mistake or an error. But in fact, there were many reasons why the U.S. went into Iraq.
Well, I mean, Major, as you well know, and the late General Colin Powell talked frequently about his regret going to the United Nations back in 2003 and forcefully making a case for the invasion of Iraq by saying that there was a belief that the United States intelligence community believed that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, which we now know did not exist. And the general regretted that speech, and he talked about it. But as you just indicated, for people to believe that that was the reason why the United States decided to invade Iraq is simply not correct, because the president, then George W. Bush, had already decided that that was going to happen.
Right. And it was, again, the context of the time, the entire national intelligence organization was reorganized after 9/11 because of the lessons that allowed 9/11 to happen. So I do remember Colin Powell regretting that, but absolutely that decision by our president was a very complex, but Saddam was given so many options and so many deadlines to let inspectors inspect these things that the entire UN Security Council and everybody had voted to allow those inspections to happen, and he refused.
So, as you know, as we sort of look back, the post-invasion plan, if you could call it one, didn't work. Or there wasn't a plan, or there were competing plans, or whatever it was. But the idea to create a more stable Iran did not pan out.
Iraq.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, right. Sorry. So now that we kind of look at where things are right now, ultimately, the goal was to make the region more stable, the region safer. Can we say that has been accomplished 20 years out?
Or is it the opposite? By removing Saddam Hussein, whether or not the United States liked his policies, whether or not he was beholden to our dictates to him, that removing Saddam Hussein, removing other dictators in that part of the world has made the region more unstable.
Yeah, that's going to be really hard to prove. I do feel in my heart that the nation of Iraq is a better place for removing Saddam Hussein. I sat through and protected multiple national elections of millions of people voting in their own way for their own government that has led to a new Iraq and a much more stable Iraq who has partners, as you know, from even the Iran-Iraq war to invading Kuwait, to make Iraq a stronger democratic partner in the region. So I do think it's, you can say that there was value in removing Saddam Hussein and allowing the Iraqi people to form a nation that they wanted to form. There are a lot of lessons that we learned on nation building is very hard. Conducting a vibrant counterinsurgency during nation building is very hard. And things like our Department of State were vastly under-resourced to execute that diplomatic mission.
I'm glad you said that, because my next question was going to be, what lessons have we learned? And I think that, nation building is very hard, is certainly a lesson that you can't sort of superimpose concepts of democracy and ignore history, culture, and everything else that's going on in a country,
But does it look like to you, Major, or not does it look like, but do you believe, as some have suggested, that the rise of ISIS was a direct result of the invasion of Iraq and the removal of Saddam Hussein?
No, absolutely not. I mean, there are a lot of bad people in the world and a lot of bad people in the world. The rise of ISIS, like General David Petraeus, who I served under, said, was the exact consequences of what happened when we left, which is, self-determination. Iraq immediately implemented a sectarian sanctions on their own people, started removing the democratic processes. ISIS was a direct reflection of the immediate actions that happened after we left. It was not because of the Iraq war. Absolutely not. I strongly disagree with that.
All right, Major John Spencer, thank you, sir, as always, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.